Hey guys, today we're taking a look at a game called C14 Dating. This is a Otome dating sim visual novel. So what that means is you're playing as a girl and you're dating various guys, and it's intended to be more towards the female audience and not towards male, but I'm just going to be taking a quick look at the first 10 to 15 minutes of the game. It says that it combines archaeology, friendships, and love. So I'm going to leave minigames on, let's do original font and dialogue, and let's start. Alright, so I guess you play as Melissa. The images in this game look really good, like really well drawn and really pretty looking. So let's see. Oh, is this it? I glanced at the map, which highlighted road names along with a star next to my destination. After comparing, I came to the conclusion this wasn't the place, but I was close. The village Koreans was clustered by the Mius River, and I paused to admire the pretty gardens surrounding the houses. I was oddly calm, despite being over 5,000 miles from my Californian home. The reality of being in another country had yet to set in. Up ahead, there was a clearing separated from the road by the fence. On the other side, a few tents were stationed behind a two-story building. I spotted an open chain gate with a billboard in front of the driveway. It said, Gratte de Calen Entrée. That's the place. So was that French? So they might be in France, but the main character seems to be from California. A familiar figure stood by the entrance. She was currently talking to a middle-aged man, but when she saw me, she gave me a cheerful wave as I ran up to her. Cheery. With one hand on my bag handle, I exchanged a half embrace with my professor. I didn't know you already arrived. If you had called me, I would have come and picked you up at the train station. So this is Shiri, your professor. You mentioned that the cave wasn't far, so I wanted to soak in the scenery and enjoy the sights. I'm glad you made it safely. Was it difficult taking the train? Nope. Well, I did try to practice my French at the ticket station until the person said that he could speak English. He pointed me in the right direction. At least you'll be able to brush up on your French. You'll find it's not too different from Spanish. You'll catch on quickly. I groaned inwardly. My Spanish wasn't the most fluent, but I mentioned it in my interview when discussing how I could cope with staying in Belgium without knowing French. So I guess you're in Belgium. I glanced around, then turned towards Shiri. Where's Paige? Didn't she say she would be arriving earlier today, or was that tomorrow? I got an email from her yesterday saying there was a family emergency. She won't be able to participate this summer. I failed to hide my disappointment. Paige was the other student from my university who planned to attend the field school. We even worked out trips to do every weekend during our stay. I mustered up a weak smile. It's understandable. It can't be helped if it's family. Then it would just be me. Shiri gestured to the other person present to change the subject. Alright, before I forget, let me introduce you to Professor Augustin Dupont, Chief Archaeologist of the Calen Cave. I eagerly extended my arm for a handshake. Everything I heard about Mr. Dupont was from Shiri, and she'd mentioned that he was a revered Belgian archaeologist. It's an honor to meet you. I'm Melissa Flores, a junior. I look forward to seeing Shiri's students every summer. It's a pleasure to meet you. Mr. Dupont spoke with a heavy French accent, but I had no trouble comprehending him. Have you gone over everything with Shiri? When the students from Liege arrive tonight, they'll get their first lecture before dinner. Yes, I'll still attend the lecture though. If I was going to be submerged in the language, I might as well start by hanging out with the local students. Mr. Dupont eyed my suitcase. It must have been a long trip, or been a tiring trip. Come, we will show you around the back. Students will be spending the weekdays here. We reached a clearing and I spotted some tents, most clustered around the perimeter against the bushes, and a few were closer to the building. Feel free to pick one. These are for the students who don't own their own tents or air mattresses, or couldn't bring them. The chief archaeologist gave me a nod, then excused himself. He probably had other matters to attend to before the students arrived. I studied the tents next to the building and thought about my phone, which was still in airplane mode. How's the Wi-Fi here? If you stay in that tent, you might get Wi-Fi. It doesn't extend much here in the back. If you have brought a laptop, you can leave it in the laboratory. It's been done before. Everything gets locked up at night though for safekeeping. Fair enough, at least I can keep in touch with my parents. Once you're finished, come back to the front and we'll give you a tour. Will we get to see the cave today? It's already locked, so you'll have to wait until morning. And the anticipation builds. I thanked her and started unpacking. There was already a mattress, pillow, and sleeping bag in place, and it only took a few moments to settle in. Done. Grabbing a small storage bag, I zipped my tent and hurried over to the front of the building. Anyway, this is the main entrance. This will take take you to the... She opened the door and my eyes widened as I saw display after display. So it was a museum, and remarkably a tiny one. After the loop, I was already back in the entrance. I wanted to examine the displays more, but feared I'd have to come back in my free time later. Sherry and I ascended the stairs by the entrance. This room is more of a multi-purpose room. It can be used for lectures, and it's where findings are cleaned if the weather isn't suitable outside. I cradled the storage bag, wondering how to bring up the question. Fortunately, Sherry noticed. Something important in there? The extra insulin I won't be using yet. It needs to avoid extreme temperatures. Is there somewhere safe I can store it? Ah, of course. Thank you for reminding me. Feel free to use the indoor kitchen since it's restricted to staff members. Augustin has granted you access since he knows you're diabetic. She led me to the back, giving me a chance to store the insulin bottles in the fridge. And to conclude the tour, this is the lab. This is where most of the research takes place. How many students will be here? It varies. There can be as many as 40 or as few as 20. Students from Liege are required to devote at least 4 weeks working at an archaeological site, regardless of the major. Therefore, we may get a lot of music and art students too. The other students should be arriving soon. How's the jet lag? Not so bad. So far, a little fatigued, but nothing else. I'm going to be up all night, aren't I? Worst case scenario, I'll give you an extra day to prepare yourself for the dig. You have reviewed the material I've given you, right? Ah, yes. I've looked into it. Is there anything else you'd like to go over? It's been a month since my last lecture. We can inquire about the cave, how long you've been digging here, and go over itinerary, and go over field school grading system. Ask about Augustin. Nah. I think I'm good for now. Great. However, if there are any questions, feel free to ask. We heard activity outside, complete with loud voices and footsteps on the gravel. Looks like the other students from Liege are here. Augustin will start the lecture soon. Huh? No chance to unpack or get ready or anything like that? No, all of the students were given instructions on when to arrive. Punctuality is valued greatly here. He'll lecture now, and all the students will settle in after. I'll be on my way. Alright, so here are some of the students. 2 girls and this muscular-looking guy. Some students stood while others sat on the stone tiles in front of the building. A few leaned against their luggage, but they all formed a semicircle around Augustin. There were about 30 faces, and I wondered how the camping grounds would contain all of them. They fell silent when Augustin began to speak. Although I picked up a few words such as archaeology, grati, and sediment, much of it was lost on me. He repeated calcari a lot too. However, his gestures were vibrant and I sensed the passion behind his voice. It got me looking forward to the excavating tomorrow. Alright, so here's our weekly schedule and my journal. Let's see here. Week 1. I guess I can pick what activities I want to do on each game, on each week. I guess week 1 we will do a game, and then we will browse the internet, and I don't know, let's play catch. Tuesday, socialize, browse the internet, game. Game. Oh crap, I just filled out all of them. Let's change a few. Here's my stats: culture, rationale, empathy, diligence, stress, and my journal. So I guess by doing different activities you raise your stats up, and then I guess that'll give you access to different things later on in the game. The gallery, we don't have any pictures. Let's go ahead and return. Play. Like Sherry said, there was another lecture in the morning, complete with a whiteboard and Augustin demonstrating how to use a trowel. It was all in French, and Sherry was kind enough to translate some key phrases, or remind me that I covered this with her before the trip. The students were divided with one half, me included, to head for the cave, while the other group would stay behind for lab work. The walk to the cave was roughly 10 minutes, passing through a narrow path in the sloped woods. The trickier sections had cement stairs installed along with handles to prevent slipping. When we reached an ordinary looking shed, Augustin pulled out his keys. I realized this was the cave entrance, or at least the artificial part of it. Once you're inside, please spread out so I can explain how to wet screen. He repeated the instructions in French as we filled through one by one. There was a raised counter in the middle with plastic containers suspended on wooden supporters. So this is where the wet screening takes place. Looks like it can only fit 2 people at a time. I wonder how often it'll be used. Augustin demonstrated by lowering an empty metal sieve Into the plastic container, grabbing a hose, he mimed washing the screen and rooting through pretend dirt. As much as I tried to pay attention, the language barrier tested my focus and my eyes started to wander. Alright, check out the posters, look down, stay focused, and check out the posters. Posters depicted sedimentary layers, cave bears, and even proudly displayed pictures from previous excavations. They were definitely useful for references if I could read French. Okay, Ors des Caverns must mean cave bear. At least I figured that one out. Okay, so it's been about 10 minutes in. I'm gonna go ahead and just start skipping through and just looking at what we can expect later on in the game. So it looks like they're in the cave, and let's see, I think I got it. I think later on you'll experience some mini games. Here's a French-speaking student. Looks like they're having a conversation. I'm just going through, seeing some of the some of the activities going on. There we go. The people here haven't been the friendliest. Alright, now I guess we're flirting with this guy, or at least getting to know him. I can volunteer for tomorrow. Alright, so here's the first mini game. Now before we dig, we should first remove the top layer. It's been treaded on, so the soil is now mixed and distributed. You can now see how dark and compacted it is compared to the tighter, pristine sediment beneath it. Not only that, it's hard to dig through and all clumpy. Already testing out? Someone's eager? Remember, you only need to remove a few centimeters worth. Try it out. Alright, note the top row has a 5 beside it. This means 5 cells must be chiseled, blackened out, in an uninterrupted sequence. Since this is a 5x5 grid, you can clear the full row. Just like this. Perfect, a clean line. Make sure you don't remove too much or you might end up digging into the sediments you'll be recording. Is there a way to prevent that? I mean, I can easily distinguish these two layers, but I'm not sure it won't always be this obvious. You can use the tip of your trowel to etch into the sediment. It helps to separate the stratigraphy, so you don't have to constantly check to make sure you haven't dug into a new layer. I'll try here as a practice run. So I can take this etch tool. It marks the cells that do not need to be chiseled with an X. Okay. Great. See, there's a 0 beside the row. That means no cells need to be chiseled, blackened out. You can leave it as is. Looks like the top layer ends here. I agree. Now you know how much left you need to clear away. Here I go. Oops. That's perfect. The couche de merde, or I don't know how to say it, I cannot speak French, has now been stripped away, revealing the pristine sediments underneath. Alright, note now the columns are all marked with 2. This means each column had 2 cells that needed to be filled up. Alright, pretty simple game it seems. I'm going to go ahead and skip forward. Careful though, if your stress levels are too high, you won't get as many hints. So if you have too much stress, you won't get as many hints for these minigames. Alright, so this means there needs to be at least one unchiseled blank cell between them. This is a 5x5 grid, so there's only one place that blank cell can be. Try chiseling the row now. Alright, this means there needs to be at least, okay, 2, 2. That means 2 and then 2. There we go. Good. Column now requires 2 cells to be chiseled. Go ahead and finish it. So this says 1, 2. So 1, 2. So that one's finished. See if you can complete the rest. So try to complete in the 4th row. You can also now use hints by clicking on the numbers. Alright, so this is the 4th, wait, the 4th row is right here. So 3, 1. 1, 2, 3, and then 1. So that should be finished. And now the rest might be kind of tricky. 1. I don't know if that's right or not. You can now use hints. Hints will actually tell me the correct order in the columns, but I'm gonna try to do it on my own. So this one says 1, 1. This one says 1. Wait, no. 1, 1. Okay, so the second row is finished. 1, 2. The first row is finished. The third row, let's see. 1, 1. So there's one more in the third row that I'm missing. I'm gonna guess that it's right here, although I could be mistaken, because here's 1, here's 1. Alright, so the fourth row says 1, 1 as well, which means one of these is obviously wrong. This one says 0, so there can't be any in this row. So let's go ahead and etch these out. This means we can't put any here. And we can't put any there. Oh, yeah, this is what the etching tool's for. So you can like put this in memory that you're not supposed to use any of those blocks. Okay. Okay, so this is 1, 1. Let's go ahead and etch this one. Let's etch all these. Let's see. Let's use a chisel. So what else are we missing here? This one's 1, 1. This one, we're missing this one. Which row are we missing? Oh, we're missing this one. Okay, so there we go. So that should be correct, I'm guessing. So 1, 1. This one's 1, 1. 1, 1. 1, 1. 1, 2. It looks good to me. I'm going to try to check it. We did it. You unlocked a new journal entry, stratigraphy. So that's a kind of fun little mini game, or a little puzzle. Wasn't too difficult to figure out. Oh, time to play lots of games. That's all she does in her free time, play games. Alright, so this is the next week. I think I'm going to conclude this video here. You obviously get to get a little understanding at least of what to expect in this game. Here's a new guy. Looks like he's kind of shy. I love your hoodie. Oh my gosh, I love the design. And you're meeting new friends and starting new relationships. Everything looks good. So yeah, if you enjoyed what you've seen so far, be sure to check out the link below. I'll put a link to the Steam store page to the game. And again, this game is called C14 Dating. I hope you guys have a great day.